Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
Shashwat,
Yes, sir.
you just quickly your meaning of your name.
So, Shashwat essentially means something that is immortal,
Hence,
something that never ends, something that remains in permanence.
okay. What way you will remain immortal or permanent?
Sir, I believe that human beings cannot remain immortal per se. That is the basic truth of life. So, but my understanding is that ideas can remain immortal.
Ideas. Very good. ठीक. You have studied, you have taken politics as a subject, right?
Yes, sir.
Is politics is a science? You said a political science. We understand physics, chemistry, geology, botany, this and that. These are the sciences. How the politics is a science? Whether it is science or not first. If it is, how?
Sir, my understanding is that politics is indeed the science. Sir, politics is the science of behavior, also at times called as behavioral science, wherein we study the role of power in our society from the understanding of human beings. And since we study human behavior, there are various interdisciplinary subjects like psychology, sociology, which play an interplay in the study of politics, making politics a science.
Okay. You have worked as assistant to some member of parliament, right?
Yes, sir.
See, recently there was a row of an MP sharing her password and other details to outsiders outside the parliament domain, and she has been suspended from the parliament. What is the whole controversy about?
So the Honorable MP Shri Mahua Moitra was initially alleged to share her login credentials of the Lok Sabha intranet to one of the businessmen who filed questions and other details on her behalf on the Lok Sabha portal. So the ethics committee took up the issue and found it as a breach of the Lok Sabha code of conduct. And as a result, the respective MP had been suspended for the same, sir.
See, most of our members of parliament, they are not computer literate.
Yes, sir.
If, and everything is happening on computers these days. So necessarily they have to share their password, login ID, password to their staff.
Yes, sir.
And staff is not regular staff. They are not regular employees also most of the time. Not all of them. So in any case, password has to be shared. Whether to share your to the staff who is not a real government employee, or to an outsider who is again not a government employee. How does it differentiate? You have to, the MPs do not put in their login details themselves. They have to share. So what is the big thing about it?
Sir, in my understanding, the ethics committee took the consonance of the issue that the respective person who is a businessman was an external entity to the office of the respective MP and was not a full-time employee of the respective MP's office. For instance, sir, as a legislative assistant, even I was required to fill question hour on the behalf of my MP, but I was enrolled as a full-time staff in the respective MP's office. But in this case, sir, firstly, sir, the respective person was a businessman. Secondly, sir, he was not an authorized entity on behalf of the MP or the government or the Lok Sabha Secretariat to fill those details on that behalf. This put risks, sir, on the issue of influencing the overall functioning of the parliament, the overall output that the MP have in the parliament, and the overall influence that any external interests can have in the functioning of the MPs.
The whole issue is of sharing the login ID details or influencing the MP. There are two things.
Yes, sir.
Sharing of the details to outsiders is very common. Outsider means the who is not a government employee.
Yes, sir.
And a person working with MP, not a government employee, is an outsider.
Yes, sir.
MP has authorized him or her. Similar way, the honorable lady also authorized the person. Authorization is same. Sharing of the details is same. The issue is sharing of details or issue is interference in the inner working. What is the issue exactly? What did the ethics committee, how they took up the issue?
So the report of the ethics committee has not been made public yet. However, sir, the ethics committee in what the deliberations came out in the public domain found that because the businessman was not an authorized person on behalf of the Lok Sabha Secretariat, the sharing of the login credentials to an external entity was a breach of the parliamentary rules of conduct. So, sir, in my understanding, the two issues, though different, are interrelated, wherein if login IDs are shared to external interest groups by the respective MPs, though even after his or her authorization, without consonance of the Lok Sabha Secretariat, can pose certain risks to the freedom of the MPs and the freedom of the legislators per se to put their views in the parliament, and can influence the overall parliamentary activities as well.
See, Lok Sabha Secretary will not authorize any person other than the government employee. Right? The Secretary doesn't know who is he. But the people working with the MP, all the MPs are outsiders also who are not government employees.
Sir, in this case, sir,
And ID login passwords are shared with them. So what is the difference between the two? And how serious was the issue? Whether issue was sharing of details or issue was interference?
Sir, in my understanding, sir, there can be a specific rule that can be added in the Lok Sabha Code of Conduct, wherein if a specific MP is giving login credentials to any external employee, that detail can be shared to the Lok Sabha Secretariat on a letter so that the respective information remains in the public domain.
Okay. Have you been to some villages or tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities recently?
Sir, recently I have not been able to, but in the past, sir, I have been.
Maybe about 6 months back or so, like that, right?
Sir, about 2 years back, sir.
How did you find the cleanliness there in that city or village or town, whichever?
So the sanitation of the villages have improved successively in recent years, especially after the onset of the Swachh Bharat initiative. We see that the twin pit toilets have become the new talk of the town, where people are building cost-effective toilets in order to avoid open defecation. Secondly, sir, the overall waste management in the rural areas have also improved.
See, why I'm asking is this: has the Swachh Bharat campaign has made India Swachh, and to what extent? If you go just 5 kilometers away from this place, it is as filthy as it was. Has it put any impact on Swachh Bharat?
Sir, my understanding is that Swachh Bharat mission has made tremendous impact on the ground in terms of cleanliness. Firstly, sir, it has made India 100% ODF free, which means that open defecation at the first level has been successfully achieved. Secondly, sir, it has also caused a behavioral change in the mindset of people, wherein a lot of people who were initially very prone to throwing the wastes on road have now been behaviorally converted to becoming more cleanliness friendly. However, sir, as you mentioned, there are indeed challenges with respect to waste management we see. For instance, the grey water management, the liquid waste management, as well as the piling up of wastes in the form of waste mountains in these urban areas. These are continuous challenges that we have to tackle.
Okay. One political party says that they will give everything free after the elections, and they give many things free also. The other political party challenges it and say this is bad. But at the same time, they also say food free. We are feeding 80% population free food and all that. Both the parties doing the same thing, and they are criticizing each other. Should we give these things free? And what is this controversy about?
So the essential controversy is about the freebie culture, which our Prime Minister also called as the Revadi culture. So I think the problem is not with respect to any specific political party, but with respect to the overall political culture per se, where freebies on ground have become a norm, and any political party does not have the willpower to take the political risk of not giving the freebies in the elections. So my understanding is that we have to focus on long-term policy measures, for instance, focusing on education, promoting SHG-led development, focusing on healthcare, so that these freebies, people would eventually move their understanding from these freebies to more impactful ways of living.
Okay. Your subject is international relations also.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by relations between the two countries? Relations between brother, between sister, brother, between two people is understood. Relations between the countries are like known entities. What do you mean by relations between them?
Sir, in international relations, relations is essentially a hypothetical term that denotes the overall relations between two societies per se. For instance, if let's say India and United States, they have a trade between the two countries, then we call it as trade relations. Similarly, if there is a consonance of the views of the political leadership with respect to strategic thinking, we can call it as political relations. Similarly, so there are people-to-people ties among the people who are living across the borders. So that can be called as the cultural and the social relations among the countries. So though not a real term denotation, but it is a hypothetical term that denotes the relations between societies.
Okay. What is a pearl of strings in Indian Ocean? What do you mean by pearl of strings in the Indian Ocean?
So the concept of pearl of strings was given by a famous American scholar who ideated that there are ports and there are regions in the Indian Ocean region that are being now built by Chinese as infrastructure projects only to be converted into strategic and military objectives in future. For instance, the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, the Quoc Phu port in Myanmar, the Lamu port in Maldives, one in Somalia. So these are some of the ports that are now considered as the ways China is trying to encircle its strategic influence around India in the Indian Ocean.
Is India also doing something?
So India is also trying to build close relations with the countries in the Indian Ocean region. For instance, India has a very close relation with Mauritius, and India is also building one of the ports in the region. Recently, sir, in Iran also, the Chabahar port was signed, which India was building, which has recently got stalled. In Myanmar also, India is also having close relations through the what is called as the IMT trilateral corridor in terms of the infrastructure project locally.
Okay.